Luke chapter 18, look at verse 9. Look at this. And he spoke this parable unto them, unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. So we know exactly, it doesn't always happen this way. We know exactly why the Lord is telling this parable. Exactly why. Because here, the writer, which is Luke, or who was Luke, is telling us exactly why the Lord is telling this parable. Why is the Lord telling this parable? He spoke this parable unto those who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. So, in other words, these people that the Lord is directing this parable at, particularly, they think they are righteous. So, that is one kind of righteousness. So, we can say man's righteousness. We can call it a righteousness of their own, a righteousness of themselves. See, they trusted in themselves that they were righteous. It doesn't say they were righteous in the sight of God, or they were righteous in the that they want God's approval. It just says in their own eyes, to themselves, they were righteous. That is not the kind of righteousness that you want to have. It says these people in their own eyes, they trust in themselves, they believe in themselves, and they think that they are righteous. They trusted in themselves that they were righteous. And then they despised other people. Look at it, verse 10. Two men, two situations, two men, two dichotomies, two kinds of righteousnesses. Two men went up into the temple to pray. The one a Pharisee and the other a publican. You have to notice that these are religious people. They went to the temple to pray. These are religious people, like you, like me. These are people who believe in God. These are not atheists. These are not people who don't acknowledge the presence of God, or who don't read scripture, if you like. These are perfectly religious people. They went to the temple to pray. So they give attention to spiritual things also. Look at the next verse, verse 11. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, and he said, God, I thank thee that I am not like other men are. I am not an extortioner. I am not unjust. I am not an adulterer. I am not even as this publican. It sounds as if he's praying out loud for everybody to hear him, and he's actually pointing to the publican and saying, thank God I'm not like that publican, like that guy, that sinner, that bad boy. I'm not like them. Look at the next verse. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. This guy is full of himself. Now, I want you to notice how many times he has made references to himself in these two verses. In verse 11 and in verse 12, this guy has made references to himself 5 times in 2 verses. Look at it. God, I thank thee that that's number 2, I am not like other men are. Verse 12, I fast, that's number 3. I fast twice in the week. That's number 4. I give tithes of all that that's number 5, I possess. It's I, themselves, only himself. He is a God unto himself. And just like this parable says, they trusted in themselves, not in God, that they were righteous. Now, look at the latter half, the other half of verse 12. It says, I give tithes of all that I possess. You have to notice that this guy could easily have said, I give tithes, or I give my tithes. He had to say, I give tithes of all that I possess. I mean, you're not going to give tithes of all that somebody else possesses. You're going to give tithes of all that you possess. It's implied. He had to say, it's my possession. I gave it out of my possession. He had to say, so full of himself. 5 times. Go back to verse 11. The Lord said here, the Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself. You know, some years ago when I read that, I thought it was a really curious expression where it says he prayed thus with himself. He prayed with himself. It's really curious, at least to me. So I looked at other versions, other translations. There's a particular version or translation, I don't remember which one it is now. It actually renders this as he prayed toward himself. Pretty much like he was praying to himself, toward himself. He was directing the prayer to himself, like, I am righteous. And if at all he was praying to God, he was praying to God, presenting his own works. He was praying to God, saying, I do this. I am this. I am not that. I don't do this. I do that. It's all about himself. He has come to God saying, God, look at me. I have done all of these things, so you need to answer my prayer. God, look at me. I have done all of these things, so I deserve righteousness. I deserve things from you. Now, the publican, so it was supposed to be a more sinful man, a more worldly man. He came and said, I can't lift my eyes up to look at you. I'm going to stand far off from the altar. I can't come. I don't qualify. Please have mercy on me. Just have mercy on me. That's all I want. My face to the ground. That's all he came with. That does not say that the publican himself didn't fast twice a week. There's nothing here to tell us that he didn't give his tithes too. There's nothing here to say he didn't give his offering in the temple, or maybe he fasted more than the Pharisee. It's possible. But the publican did not come presenting anything that he had done. Nothing. He didn't come presenting, I have done this, I have done that, I'm not like that, I am like this. Nothing. He has not come presenting his own righteousness at all. He will not make a reference to, remember the other day I did something nice to somebody on the street. Somebody had an accident and I helped them out. No claim. So remember where we started from. It's Matthew chapter 5 verse 20, where the Lord said, except your righteousness surpasses the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. So two kinds of righteousnesses: the righteousness of the self, me, my own, myself, and then the righteousness which is of God, though the kind of righteousness that God approves of, which we see here in Luke. In verse 14, the Lord said, the publican went home to his house justified, which is another word for righteous. He went to his house righteous, with righteousness, rather than the Pharisee. The Pharisee was condemned. So two kinds of righteousnesses here: the righteousness of man, myself, me, myself, the righteousness of God.